The New York Times wrote about a really great study that Stanford researchers did to see the achievement gap between the rich and the poor. Now, oftentimes you hear about an achievement gap between the races, between whites and blacks. However, there's very little information on income, right? Usually the income is related to race, and then researchers try to find a gap when it comes to race and education achievement and stuff. But what they found here is that your income level plays a larger role in your academic achievement than your race. So what the Stanford Center for Education did is they looked at standardized tests, and they saw that the test scores between affluent and low-income students has grown by 40% since the 1960s. That is double the gap between blacks and whites.
Wow. And look, this is exactly the kind of stuff we've been talking about, right? Which is that income inequality has real results. And what it does is it strips people of opportunity. And that's the most important part of it. Because it's okay if people are richer, of course. We get it. We're capitalists, we're Americans, yada, yada, right? But if the whole premise is that we all have a shot at it.
Yes, it's supposed to equalize everything.
Right, and education is a great equalizer. And if it turns out you don't have a shot at it, because the odds are skewed against you, well, then we got a real problem.
So this is a really complex issue because you can't really pinpoint one reason as to why there's a lower achievement level among those from a lower income. So there are all these little elements that come into play, but the element that I found the most interesting had to do with the number of hours affluent children spend outside of their homes versus the number of hours poor kids spend outside of their homes. And this is during the developmental phase, from when they are born till the age of about 6 years old. And it turns out that kids that are born in affluent families are more likely to spend longer hours outside of the home.
I'm not surprised by any of that. So later on in the process, why do richer kids do better on the SATs? Well, that's because they took an SAT prep class, right? You know, and they had tutors, et cetera. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so they wind up having this huge advantage. Or they go to a private school, they get better training, more assistance outside the home. Earlier on, they do more activities. You know, intramural soccer, piano, whatever it might be. And all of those help tremendously in the development of kids. And part of the reason that poor people can't do that as well is because they got two jobs. They're trying to make things happen. The dad's working, the mom's working. Who's got time to drive the kids to soccer practice? Or, socioeconomically speaking, there are more poor people inside of big cities. They don't have intramural soccer to go to as they do in the suburbs, right? It's hard to take piano class. It's possible, right? But it's much, much harder. So on average, you wind up having this gap. And that gap is really problematic because the whole point of the country is supposed to be that we all have a fair shot.